Hi guys, this is Pastor Prophet Justin Roberts from End of the Age Bible Prophecy. Today I want to presentate to you my PowerPoint presentation for the second coming of Jesus Christ. In it you're going to find illustration books in the form of slideshow, you're going to have scripture in the form of sound clips, and you're going to have me voicing over in the form of narration. So I hope you've enjoyed this slideshow and I hope you have great revelations from this presentation. God bless you all. Amen. So this chapter is concerning the last 3.5 years, which is the kingdom of the Antichrist and the kingdom of the false prophet.
And for this cause God shall send them strong delusion, that they should believe a lie, that they all might be damned who believed not the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness.
So the government, the Illuminati, plan for a world population of only 500 million, which is 0.5 billion. This is a counterfeit of times, by the way, because the population during Jesus Christ's time was 500 million. In fact, the population of the world stayed pretty much the same until not quite long ago. I think it was only around, I'm guessing now, but it was only something around the 13 or the 1500s where the population started to increase again. But think about that. 0.5 billion, and just to give you the heads up, the population right now, which is always increasing, is 7.5 billion. So the government that look after you and care about and love you wants 7 billion of you gone before this last 3.5 years of the Antichrist begins. In this last 3.5 years, you're going to see the Romans, the Scarlet Beast, the King of the North, destroy Jerusalem again for 3.5 years.
Revelation 11.
Revelation 11.
And there was given me a reed like unto a rod. And the angel stood, saying, Rise, and measure the temple of God, and the altar, and them that worship therein. But the court which is without the temple leave out, and measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles.
Revelation 11 confirms that there will be a temple, a physical temple built again. Just like in the first coming, the second temple was there. Just like the second coming of Jesus, the third temple will be there. And if you know anything about the Bible, even humanity, everything comes in threes. You know what I mean? So the temple of God will be rebuilt again on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem.
And after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself.
History, prophecy repeating itself, that Messiah will be cut off, but then just as the first coming Messiah was cut off, the second coming Messiah was cut off, because Daniel prophecy says he was cut off, but not for himself. Now when Jesus was cut off or crucified and killed in his first coming, it was because of himself. He says, I am the Son of God, and they say, blasphemy, crucify him. So Jesus got cut off because of himself. But Daniel's prophecy concerning the 70 weeks is that after 62 weeks, after the 69 weeks, Messiah shall be cut off, but not for himself, not because of Jesus Christ. In fact, Jesus Christ won't even be here. So it is because the Antichrist is coming instead of Christ as a deception. That's the reason.
And both these kings' hearts shall be to do mischief, and they shall speak lies at one table, but it shall not prosper, for yet the end shall be at the time appointed.
So we have two main empires, main kingdoms in the very end of Daniel, the very end of the end of the age, the end of the world. You have the King of the North, the Scarlet Beast, the Roman King. Here you can see William, who will actually be that Scarlet Beast. And then you have the King of the South, blue, which is Israel, and he's the Benjamin Netanyahu, which was the prime minister, the leader of Israel at that time.
And he shall forecast his devices against the strongholds, even for a time. And he shall stir up his power, and his courage against the king of the south with a great army. And the king of the south shall be stirred up to battle with a very great and mighty army.
And so the king of the north from Rome, the Scarlet Beast, the British Empire, America, NATO, and all these will come against the king of the south, blue, the Israel, Jerusalem, the Temple Mount, in battle.
And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh.
So when you see Jerusalem compassed with armies, NATO, the United Nations, the British Royal Empire, the Romans, compass Jerusalem about, you know that the end is near.
And the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with a flood. And the holy city shall they tread under foot 42 months.
And history repeating itself, the first coming, the Romans destroyed Jerusalem and it took them 3.5 years. The second coming, nothing has changed. The Romans, the Catholics, NATO, EU, United Nations, as I've said, they will destroy Jerusalem. And even in this time of weapons of mass destruction, it says it's still going to take them 3.5 years, 42 months. They'll probably do it by hand.
Revelation 12.
Revelation 12.
He shall even return and have intelligence with them that forsake the holy covenant. And arms shall stand on his part, and they shall pollute the sanctuary of strength, and shall take away the daily sacrifice. And from the time that the daily sacrifice shall be taken away, and the abomination that maketh desolate set up, there shall be 1,290 days.
And so when the burnt offering on the altar in the temple is taken away, Daniel says, he says there shall be 1,290 days until the end.
When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house, neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes. And woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. But pray ye, that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be.
And the abomination of desolation, which is the Roman fasces, I asked God about this plenty of times. In Daniel, it refers to it rather than he. It refers to it being an object standing in the holy place. If you look at the engraven images in America, it depicts someone in like a Roman throne, a Roman robe, sitting on a throne with angelic beings around him. But look what's there. Roman fasces on either side of the throne. Okay, and the Roman fasces is still here today. It's an axe wrapped in like bamboo sticks as such, and what it means is like capital punishment. In fact, it gives the king, the Roman king, authority to kill his own people. That's going to come in handy when they're going to crack down on people who will not worship King William V as the Antichrist, and will not worship his image, or will not take the mark of the beast to buy or sell. They'll just say, well, you're Roman, but you're going to die anyway. Capital punishment. And it also means martial law. Now, putting the fasces on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem is just more like saying we have martial law over the whole world, because in God's eyes, Jerusalem is like the center of the earth. And so it says, when you see the abomination of desolation, the Roman fasces, standing in the holy place where it does not be, flee to the mountains, do not turn back, and take your cloak. That's the old scripture.
And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place, where she is nourished for a time and times, and half a time, from the face of the serpent. And the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood. And the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened her mouth, and swallowed up the flood which the dragon cast out of his mouth.
And the new scripture in Revelation talks about the woman Israel fleeing into the wilderness. It says the woman will flee into the wilderness for 1,260 days. Just like the woman, the Virgin Mary, fled into Egypt for 1,260 days away from the face of Herod, who was the dragon of the first coming. Now in the second coming, Satan incarnated is with us, Barack Obama, Mr. Lightning from the heights, and it says the woman will flee into the wilderness for 1,260 days, a time, times, and half a time, from the face of that serpent Barack Obama.
And the dragon was wroth with the woman, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of God, and have the testimony of Jesus Christ.
And that dragon, Obama, Barack, Satan incarnated, will go to war with the woman, Israel, the Jews, and the descendant of the Jews, and then people who keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. That's who Satan will go to war with. So if you're a person, or you know a person who says you don't have to keep the commandments anymore, they are siding with the devil. Because if the devil goes to war with the people who keep the commandments, then he is not concerned with the people who don't keep the commandments, which means they are walking with him and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is basically the whole Bible. This is Old Testament and New Testament. Keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. It's the same God, it's the same book, and Satan will go to war with them people, the true saints, the 144,000, who are also descendants of that seed of the woman Israel.
Revelation 13.
Revelation 13.
And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. Then I would know the truth of the 4th beast, which was diverse from all the others, exceeding dreadful, whose teeth were of iron, and his nails of brass, which devoured, brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with his feet.
And that beast of Revelation and Daniel is the creature which is on the coat of arms of Prince William. Okay, it says like unto a leopard climbing upwards. Revelation says he has a face of a lion, Daniel says he has great iron teeth. The lion's mouth is open, you can see his teeth, and they're iron coloured. Feet of a bear. When you look at that creature, it looks like a lion, but they are not lion's feet. They are not small cat's feet. They are big, have big tassels. They're bear's feet on that creature. And then it says nails of brass. These nails are not white like a lion would be. They're red, just like the colour of brass. So everything that Daniel and Revelation says about the beast is that creature on the coat of arms of Prince William.
Even him, whose coming is after the working of Satan with all power and signs and lying wonders, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they received not the love of the truth.
And so it says the Antichrist will come in accordance with the workings of Satan, with all power, signs, and lying wonders. So the Antichrist, William, is coming with great power, signs, and lying wonders created by Barack Obama. Now, does that make sense? Now, people who watch on the world stage, when they see all these different things that have all these different signs and wonders, like Project Bluebeam, HARP, weather manipulation, earthquake fabrication, stuff like that. All these things, satellites that can zip down like fire from heaven, stuff like that. NASA and their lies, all these things that Satan, the spiritual being, has built up over the years for this time. But Satan himself will be incarnated in Barack Obama, lightning from the heights, in the end of the age, and will bring forward the Antichrist, William, in all his ways, and make people try and believe that he is some sort of God by all these signs and wonders that you'll see.
And I saw one of his heads, as it were, wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. Woe to the idle shepherd that leaveth the flock! The sword shall be upon his arm, and upon his right eye. His arm shall be clean and dried up, and his right eye shall be utterly darkened.
Every prophet warned his people about the Antichrist, about Dajjal, the false Messiah. And the prophet Noah warned his people. But I say to you something that none have said before me. The Antichrist sees with one eye, his left eye. He's blind in the right eye. It looks like a bulging grape. But your Lord is not one eye.
The Antichrist will come back from a deadly head wound. The Bible says, Revelation 13 says, he'll come back from a deadly head wound and everyone will be amazed to see him. But in Zechariah, it says that the worthless shepherd is blind in one eye and it's dried, and his arm is dried up. But in Islam, when they talk about the El-Masih Dajjal, the deceiving Messiah, the Antichrist, they also say that he will be blind in one eye. And that's a big correlation, because Revelation says he's going to be killed by a head wound. Islam says he's going to be blind in one eye. And Zechariah says the worthless shepherd will be blind in one eye. Now William has a scar above his on his forehead there, just above one of his eyes, like the chosen one. And also they brought out a game on the Xbox 360 and called it the Dark Messiah, and in it, in fact, this picture matched pretty much the one I picked for William to make for the Seven Kings slide. The faces almost match, but then this guy has got a wound across his eye, and you can see that the eye is just all one color. It's dried. You can tell he's blind in one eye, and they called it the Dark Messiah. All these things can't be coincidence.
And the dragon gave him his power, and his seat and great authority. And it had 10 horns. I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall rise after them. And he shall be diverse from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. These shall make war with the Lamb.
And it says the beast also has 10 horns. It says in Revelation 13 that the dragon will give power over to the beast, the Antichrist. Barack Obama will give power and his seat of authority over to the Antichrist, the beast. This is where Daniel says that among the 10 horns shall come up a little horn. And little is reference to his age. Prince William being a very young world leader, or most world leaders, 50s, 60s, whatever, but you know, Prince William is still in his 30s right now, and so he represents the little horn that shall come up among these 10 horns. But then Daniel makes another prophecy and says that he will subdue 3 of them 10 kings. Now, subdue means, it doesn't mean kill as much, it means just bring down or bring under control, could mean imprison them or something, or take the power away or something like that. So he'll subdue 3 of the kings. But these are the 10 kings which will also go with Prince William, the Beast, to Armageddon to try and defeat Jesus on his return to the earth.
Even of that horn that had eyes, and a mouth that spake very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows.
Yeah, that little young horn, Prince William, that comes up, King William, that comes up among the 10 world leaders of the New World Order. He is also the young man that is pictured in the murals in the Denver airport, the one who brings peace to all the countries and brings all their weapons in to destroy them and bring peace to all. He is actually the one depicted, and you can see in his early days it's a clear, there's a stamp from the Papua New Guinea, and you can see it's almost identical. You know, this young, blonde, someone said German, which the royal family are of German origin. I mean, that's well known as well.
And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains, on which the woman sitteth, and there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. And the beast that was, and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7, and goeth into perdition. The beast that thou sawest was, and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, and go into perdition. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was, and is not, and yet is.
So the beast, the 8th king, comes. Alright, 5 have fallen. They were Galba, Otho, Vitellius, Vespasian, and Titus. They're the ones who destroyed the temple around 70 AD. 1 is, at the time the book of Revelation was written. The angel is talking to John in the present tense. 1 is Domitian, around 96 AD when the book of Revelation was written. But then since Domitian, it's almost like prophecy has stopped. The temple is not being rebuilt. But when the 7th king comes, he's the last one, the Antichrist, William. This is going to be a time where they're going to build the temple. So seal 1, he's crowned king, he comes out. They build the temple. And then the 8th king is of the 7. The Antichrist will receive a head wound. He'll rise from the dead. He'll then be filled with the spirit of the Antichrist, the beast that comes up from the abysses of the sea, Leviathan. And he'll claim to be God, and he'll claim to be Christ, and he'll sit in that temple demanding to be worshipped by the world.
For that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. And the king shall do according to his will, and he shall exalt himself, and magnify himself above every god, and shall speak marvelous things against the God of gods, and shall prosper till the indignation be accomplished, for that is determined shall be done. Neither shall he regard the God of his fathers, nor the desire of women, nor regard any god, for he shall magnify himself above all. But in his estate shall he honor the God of forces, and a God whom his fathers knew not shall he honor with gold and silver, and with precious stones and pleasant things. Thus shall he do in the most strongholds with a strange God, whom he shall acknowledge and increase with glory, and he shall cause them to rule over many, and shall divide the land for gain.
And so The Antichrist is not just coming as a clone of Jesus Christ, he'll also sit in the physical temple of God in Jerusalem on the Temple Mount, showing himself that he is God and be honoured and praised by the world. It says he'll exalt himself, it says above every god, even above gods that his fathers knew. So he'll exalt himself above like Zeus and Apollo and all them old gods of Greece, and the gods of the Illuminati like Isis and Horus. He'll exalt himself above all of them. But then he says he'll honor a strange god, which will be Satan. Barack Obama, Satan. In fact, it says in Revelation 12 that they shall worship the dragon who gave power to the beast. So he's going to exalt Satan by all these pleasant things. And also says he's going to divide the land for gain. He's going to divide Israel, his kingdom, for gain, for money. And so he's going to sit there for 3.5 years exalting himself, and he's talking blasphemies and saying that he is the highest God to be worshipped. And then will come the false prophet to take care of the religious side of this deception.
And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon.
So then the second beast come up with 2 horns like a lamb, which is talking about the beast that will infill him, which is Baphomet, the beast that comes up from the abysses of the earth, and he'll embody that cloned body of Saint Peter. This is why Malachi's prophecy, he called him Peter the Roman. This is Pope Francis, the last pope we are on now. But the reason he called him Peter the Roman was because he's a clone of Peter, the Jew, but he, the Pope, is a Roman. And he'll pasture his sheep, in many tribulations. This is the great tribulation of the end times. And when these things are finished, like when the 3.5 years are done with, the city of 7 hills, which is Babylon the Great, Rome, shall be destroyed. And the dreadful judge, which is God, will judge his people. The end.
And he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth, and them which dwell therein, to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed.
And this last pope, his coat of arms, is very open about it. He comes from a Jesuit secret society, and the gods that they follow, worship even, are Isis and Horus of the Egyptian mythology. Mentioned it before in the William chapter, where Isis is the fake virgin who gives birth as a firstborn to Horus, who will be the one-eyed Antichrist. And so he makes people worship the first beast, who is actually Horus of the Egyptian mythology.
And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast.
So this false prophet, it says, will be able to make fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. But this is all be planned. It's like magic. It's like trickery. It's deception. He will say something like, if this is the real God, or this is the Christ, then let fire come down from heaven. And then a satellite will either disperse space rocks into the atmosphere, or if they have a satellite which is able to bring down fire beams from heaven. I mean, we've seen a few things that, like this one thing in the image there, that everyone thought it was a meteorite, but when on slow motion you see the beam is just a solid beam of energy that comes down from the heavens and makes a massive mess on the earth. It was definitely not a meteorite. And then if you look at the Under Siege 2 movie, you'll see that in it there was a satellite that could do the same thing. It could energize and blast this massive energy beam down from heaven and cause great destruction upon the earth. So all this thing that this false prophet is going to be doing is all deception of technology. It's all planned, it's all staged. All right, but the two witnesses who that are coming in the power of Moses and are coming in the power of Elijah, it says they will be able to bring fire down from heaven, but not to deceive men to worship them or anything like that. It says to consume their enemies, just like Elijah says, if I be a man of God, then let fire come down and consume you men who are trying to kill me, basically. And fire came down and consumed 50 men. So, but that's real. This from the false Christ this from the false prophet and the false Christ will obviously be fake.
Saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword, and did live. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak, and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed.
It says that he'll set up an image of the beast, an image of the Antichrist. Now in the commandments, it's commanded that you should not worship any engraven images. Now to understand this a bit better, if you look at a picture of something, that's not engraven, that's two-dimensional, it's flat. But an engraved image is three-dimensional, 3D, a statue. That's why the Romans don't worship any engraved images, because they just have statues everywhere. Statues of Mary, statues of Jesus, and it breaks, the second most important commandment of God. So they're looking for a three-dimensional image, but one that can speak. Now I put it to you that it will be a hologram 3D dimensional image, which will be set up in all the churches, and possibly, the way technology is going and the way Facebook's going now, it may even be that it comes out of your phone, or it might even be, well, you probably do it now actually, where you have a headset on and you can see it three-dimensional. And what will happen is, basically, on a Sunday, Prince William will come forward and say, I'm your God and I'm the Christ, and let's all live in peace and love and freedom and, no sin, and we'll live forever just like I did, and and now worship me. And they'll worship an image that can speak, and that is exactly what it is. But it says anyone who doesn't worship the image, like in Daniel, they says we're not bowing down and worshipping that statue. Good for them. But it says they should be killed, which at the end of Revelation it says that those were beheaded for Jesus Christ were brought back to life. So it could well be that people will be beheaded for not worshipping the image of the beast.
And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand, or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name.
And it says he, meaning talking about the false prophet still, shall cause everyone to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead. And it says in, it doesn't say on, in right hand. Simple as that. And no man can buy or sell anything. So this isn't a case of buying food so much. It says sell as well. So it's a transfer of money. It's obviously a money system. These RFID chips will be able to transfer your money, basically. They're actually trying to blast out these RFID readers already, so that Joe Bloggs can have one. This is it, mate. They're putting it. I mean, all the shops have got them now anyway. Contactless system, contactless, but they're blasting out these little RFID chips so that everyone can get into the system a lot easier. And then they're just going to do away with cash, and then it's all going to be electronic. It's all going to be intangible, so you have nothing to hold. You'll have have no worth in your hand. It'll just be on a system out of your control, and you're going to need an RFID chip to access to buy or sell, it says.
And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand, or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name.
And the Antichrist, King William, already received his RFID chip when he was 12 years old. He went to America and they chipped him. They said, oh, it's because he's high security. And that's bullshit. But they chipped him, they RFID mark of the beasted him when he was 12 years old, which is the age of accountability. It's almost like Satan's way of saying that you can never be saved, because once he reached the age where he went from not accountable for sin to totally blameless, and then in 12 years old, and then you mature to an adult, and then you are can be responsible for sin, but you also can be responsible for your salvation. But when you're chipped RFID chip and keep it, then you are condemned. The Bible says you're condemned for taking that chip, and he was condemned since the age that he was even accountable for sin.
Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666.
And it says even if you have the number of the beast to buy or sell, but it is the number of a man. All right. Now William V, his title when he becomes king, if you look at it as symbols, which all language is, you can actually break William V up, and then you can rearrange them, and you can get the I am, and then in Roman numerals, remember, Roman numerals, you get the VI, the 6, 3 times. So in fact, you can get in there, I am 666 in Roman numerals out of his name, William V, with no letters left over, recalculating the name of the beast.
Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666.
Now in Islam, when they talk about the Dajjal, the Antichrist, they say he comes from that island rich of spies. Now, obviously, James Bond stuff and everything started in London, money started in London, the empire started in, UK ruled the world for a day, which is like a year. America's ruled the world for a day, which is like a month. And Israel ruled the world for a day like a week. Anyway, but if you look at the emergency number, the number you ring when you need help or need saving, you could say, it's 999. Okay, but turn it upside down like the Illuminati do, and what do you have? 666. But like in America, it's not that way. It's 911. Or sorry, it's 911 in a case of emergency. And yet they get this supposed terrorist attack on 9/11 that takes down the Twin Towers, 9 on 9/11, and they still don't match it together. That hang on, this isn't some mistake by some Arabs or whatever. This is a deep down level has been done by the satanic government who built the country themselves. So it's all on top. So even the country that he comes from is in disguised 666.
Revelation 11. And there was given me a reed like unto a rod. And the angel stood, saying, Rise, and measure the temple of God, and the altar, and them that worship therein. But the court which is without the temple leave out, and measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles. And the holy city shall they tread under foot 42 months. And I will give power unto my 2 witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth. And after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. And the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with a flood, and unto the end of the war desolations are determined. And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place, where she is nourished for a time and times, and half a time, from the face of the serpent. And the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood. And the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened her mouth, and swallowed up the flood which the dragon cast out of his mouth. And the dragon was wroth with the woman, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of God, and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. Revelation 13. And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion, and the dragon gave him his power, and his seat and great authority. And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. And all the world wondered after the beast. And they worshipped the dragon which gave power unto the beast. And they worshipped the beast, saying, Who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle, and them that dwell in heaven. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints, and to overcome them. And power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. The beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, and go into perdition. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was, and is not, and yet is. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws. And they shall be given into his hand until a time and times, and the dividing of time. I beheld, and the same horn made war with the saints, and prevailed against them, until the Ancient of Days came, and judgment was given to the saints of the Most High, that it shall be for a time, times, and an half. And when he shall have accomplished to scatter the power of the holy people, all these things shall be finished. And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, and in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease, and from the time that the daily sacrifice shall be taken away, and the abomination that maketh desolate set up, there shall be 1,290 days. Blessed is he that waiteth, and cometh to the 1,330 days.
So here's a bit of a summary of events of the last 3.5 years that I spoke about and prophesied specifically for the amount of days or months specific to the last 3.5 years. So the Romans will destroy Jerusalem again for 42 months, which is 3.5 years. Daniel 9:26 and Revelation 11. The woman, Israel, shall flee into the wilderness from the face of Satan, Barack Obama. That's in Revelation 12. And they'll go to a place where they'll be nourished for 1,260 days. For a time, times, and half a time. Time 1 times 2 equals 3.5. And then the cloned Antichrist will be back from the dead from a head wound. And he'll be blind in one eye. He'll sit in the temple of God, claiming to be God and claiming to be Christ for 42 months. That's in Revelation 13. He'll persecute believers for a time, times and a half in Daniel 12. He will seek to change times and laws in Daniel 7. The 2 witnesses will also be there during his time, and they shall prophesy for 1,260 days. And the abomination of desolation to be set up in the holy place, and for when the daily sacrifice is taken away and the abomination of desolation is set up, that should be 1,290 days. There's also a prophecy about that. It says in the middle of the 7 years, when the burnt offering is taken away. So the middle of 7 is obviously 3.5 as well. And yet, blessed is he who waits and comes at the 1,335 days, meaning the return of Jesus Christ. Now here's a little wall chart that I did concerning the last 3.5 years. There's a lot to go through. I won't really discuss all of it, I think, because there's a lot on the left side. I just discuss the last 3.5 years. So Daniel 9 talks about 70 weeks of years, 490, and then you got the agreement with many for 1 week, 7 years, and in the middle of that, the daily sacrifice is taken away. Again, it says 1,290 days it shall be after that, and the abomination of desolation being set up. That's in Daniel 12. And there shall be 1,290 days after that. The woman Israel flees into the wilderness, into a place for 1,260 days, for a time, times, and half a time, which is 3.5 years. Power to the 2 witnesses, 1,260 days. And then there shall be great tribulation for the last 3.5 years. Satan gives power to his 10 horns seat and gives it to the beast in Revelation 13, and he reigns for 42 months. And the saints are given into his hand, Daniel 7, for a time, times, and half a time. And Daniel 12 says the scattering of the holy people shall be for a time, times, and half a time. And the RFID chip, the image of the beast, the false prophet bringing down miracles, all happens in that last 3.5 years. And that is basically it for the last 3.5 years. You also have the prophecy of the 2,300 days, which is 6 years and 3.5 months, of the Temple Mount being dirty in God's eyes until Jesus returns and cleans it. So this is a basic wall chart about the last 3.5 years.
And from the time that the daily sacrifice shall be taken away, and the abomination that maketh desolate set up, there shall be 1,290 days. Blessed is he that waiteth, and cometh to the 1,335 days.
So in Daniel it talks about after the daily sacrifice is taken away, there shall be 1,290 days until the end. But blessed is he who waits and comes at the 1,335 days. So the difference between them is 45 days. Difference between 1,290 and 1,335. Okay, and that's when Jesus shall return. Now, during the crucifixion, Jesus died on the last few hours of day 1, which was actually the preparation day of Passover feast. He was dead for 3.5 days, which actually would bring us into day 5 when he rises from the dead at dawn time. And then he was with the apostles for 40 days after that, and then he ascended. So 5 days of the total crucifixion, 40 days with the apostles equals the same 45 days like Daniel spoke of into coming to the end of the age. So in Acts 1:11 says, and that same Jesus which was taken up from you into heaven in a cloud shall so come in like manner as ye have seen him go into heaven. So as Jesus ascended on a cloud, he will descend on a cloud. Now what if he shall descend the same time as he ascend? Because he ascended 45 days after the first day of the crucifixion. So if he's to descend in the same way, that means he would descend 45 days after the second passing of the throne, which is exactly what Daniel says. 1,290 days until the end, bang, the second passing of the throne. But then blessed is he who comes 45 days later, 1,335 days. He shall descend 45 days after the second passing of the throne. And the second passing of the throne is the two witnesses finishing their prophecy. So thank you very much for watching this presentation on the events of the last 3.5 years of the tribulation. I know these things seem fantastic, but yeah, as you can see, the characters are already here. You can probably also see the birth pains of these things are already here. So time is short, so please ask God for forgiveness of your sins. It will be done. That's the only way you can be truly saved. And God bless you all. I've been Pastor Prophet Justin Roberts from End of the Age Bible Prophecy. Thank you very much for watching me. God bless you all.